About a quarter of the way through the NBA season, and already things have changed in a way that I don't think anyone saw coming before the year began. Every season brings a chance for players and teams to break out and reach new heights, but it also usually comes with an equal number of teams and players struggling to a shocking degree. All of that brings us to today's video. In it, we'll talk about 5 things that are happening in the NBA right now that nobody saw coming before the year began. Some things are going according to plan so far, but a lot is going the other way. Before we start though, it turns out that a lot of you watching don't even subscribe to the channel. It helps a lot, and I'd really appreciate it if you did. First, let's talk about something that no one saw coming. Jared McCain is currently leading the Rookie of the Year race. This draft class did not have a clear favorite to win, and for most of the process, it was seriously questioned whether any high-level talent would even come from it. For a player who wasn't even picked in the lottery to be looking like the best of the bunch is a big surprise. From the start of the year, Zach Edey was seen as the clear leader. Reed Shepherd was another well-known name brought up in this discussion. The top picks, Zacharias Rissischer and Alex Sarr, were also given chances because of the roles they were given, but none of them have been nearly as productive as McCain. McCain is averaging about 17 points per game this season and is getting better and better every week after starting the year, barely playing at all and then carving out a regular role. Off the bench, and then he was playing so well that they started starting him. Since then, he's really taken off. He had a 7-game streak of scoring 20 points or more, and in the 7 games he started, he's averaging 24 points per game and making 10 three-pointers a night, which is a very good 38% clip. He plays very well under control, moves better than anyone without the ball in his hands, and makes very smart decisions. He didn't make it into the draft because he's not the world's best athlete, but he's only 20 years old and already plays like he's been playing for 10 years. He has real all-star potential. The next surprise this season was that the Cleveland Cavaliers were better on offense than they were on defense. The Cavaliers have become a playoff-caliber team, and their reputation has been built on their defense. 2 years ago, they had the best defense in the league, and last year they were still in the top 10, ranking 7th overall. This season, they're still a great defense, ranking in the top 10, but they're now 8th. They've been able to make such an unexpected jump to the top of the standings, though, because they're now an absolutely elite offensive team to go with it. The Cavaliers' offense was pretty average last season, ranking 16th in the NBA. They didn't make any big changes to their roster over the offseason, so no one really expected what we're seeing from them now. But it's clear that the power of growing chemistry and the comfort of teammates playing together for a longer time has been underrated, as this team is now the 3rd best offense in the NBA, making them one of the most well-rounded teams there is. Darius Garland is back to playing like an all-star and running the offense much more efficiently. Evan Moy is making progress as a scorer, scoring a career-high number of points per game, and Ty Jerome, who is in the running for 6th Man of the Year, leads one of the best bench units in the league. While usually improvement from within takes time, the Cavaliers are currently experiencing a huge boost that is now propelling them into legitimate contender status. The next surprise this season is that the Houston Rockets are dominating without a dominant scoring threat. The Rockets didn't make the planned tournament last season, but as a young team, they definitely showed a lot of promising steps in the right direction. Most people thought that making the playoffs was an improbable but possible goal for them this year, with the playoffs being a more likely outcome. However, they are now in 2nd place in the Western Conference standings, a quarter of the way through the season. This team has a lot of depth at every position, and their young players are really developing into strong defenders. This, along with the leadership of Dillon Brooks and Fred VanVleet, has made them the 2nd best defense in the league so far, with Oklahoma City being in 1st place. Torrey and Amen Thompson are both becoming great defenders off the bench for them, and they don't even play every night. All of this success is happening even though the team doesn't have a player scoring 20 or more points per game. Even though he has bad streaks, Jalen Green scores 19.3 points per game, which is the most for them. As their 2nd leading scorer and best playmaker for a center, Allen Shannon is the center of the offense. Fred VanVleet handles the ball steadily, and they have a lot of athletic wing players who can get out and make plays. So the fact that they are winning so quickly without a real top-tier scorer is pretty impressive. LaMelo Ball's rise to fame as a superstar wasn't seen coming. Ball has been a very good NBA player since he was drafted and has already been named an All-Star. But he has had a lot of injury problems over the last 2 years, so he went into this season with similar or even low expectations. In the games he played last season, he averaged 24 points and 8 assists per game, which was very impressive, but it was all forgotten when he got hurt and missed the rest of the season. LaMelo has always been a player who is comfortable playing loose and free. As a shot creator and ball handler, he naturally adds a lot of excitement to the game with his passing and shooting. Vision has been great since he was a prospect, but this season he's taking it to a whole new level, playing like not only one of the best point guards in the game, but also one of the best players in the game, period. LaMelo is currently the second leading scorer in the NBA, scoring 31 points per game, trailing only Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's also making a league-high 13 three-point attempts per game and reliably making them all. Add in 7 assists per game, and you have a player who is forcing his way into conversations about player rankings that I doubt many people thought would be happening right now. Lastly, the Memphis Grizzlies easily picking up where they left off 2 years ago. The Western Conference is a bloodbath this season, as it has been pretty consistently over the last few years. When the Grizzlies first started to rise back up, they finished as the 2 seed in the West in back-to-back seasons, before an injury bug hit them hard last year, making it a bit of a lost season. Everyone knew they would be back with their core players this season, but they didn't make any major additions in the offseason. So with all of that competition, this year they came into the season with a lot of doubts about their ability to pick up where they left off in an NBA where teams are very good at what they do. But now they're in 4th place, only 2.5 games behind the Thunder for first place, and ahead of a lot of teams that were thought to be contenders coming into the season last year. They also had the worst offense in the NBA this year. They had the 5th best offense in the league last season, but they obviously lost their pace. But this season, they're back with the 3rd fastest pace in the league. I can't stress enough how important John Arnau is to this team. Even though they don't get as much attention as other players on the field, they consistently play like a top-tier team at full strength. That's all I have for you today. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let me know what has surprised you the most this season.
Long on the attempt.
Yeah, Anthony Davis on the challenge there made him alter that shot just a little.
Backdoor cutting.
Conley with 2 to shoot. McDaniels and Gobert just floats it in time.
Being in the game and the
Good read right there. Jumps in the air, make sure that pass is kind of like a floater.